Welcome to this live stream, and in this live stream we are going to see this very important topic about the Minitab learning. In today's live stream we are going to see 10 important steps in effective learning of the Minitab. Okay, so without spending too much time, let's start with what is the best way if you want to learn the Minitab easily and effectively, and one more important thing, practically. Then what are the steps that we need to follow? As the name indicates, for the today's live stream, there are 10 important steps that we need to follow. And here I am going to share you that 10 important steps. If you are having the pen and paper ready with you, you can also take the notes. And if you want, you can also take the picture of this. This is a very important topic that I am going to share today. When we are starting the learning of Minitab, the first important thing, even before starting the learning of the Minitab, is to understand the concepts in each tool. Let me repeat that. We need to understand the concepts in each tool or technique that we are going to learn in Minitab. Now, what is the meaning of that? Let me explain that in detail. Let's take an example of capability analysis. So this is the one of the tool or one of the technique that we can perform by using the Minitab. And when we are talking about the concepts in this capability analysis, so it consists of the lot of things, right? For example, when we are going to learn the capability analysis, we must know what is a variation. Then what are the types of variation? Whether the variation it is present due to the common cause or whether it is due to the special cause. What is the difference between them? It should be very clear before understanding of the capability analysis. The next thing, we need to use the different strategies for controlling the variation due to different causes. For example, if you are having the variation due to the common cause, we need to use the detailed DMAC approach. If the variation is due to the special cause, we can just do the investigation of before and after, and we can identify what is the root cause of it, and we can take the actions on it. So based on the situation, we need to understand what kind of strategy that we need to deploy to control the variation. We must know what are the specification limits and control limits, what's the difference between them, and is there any requirement that every time specification limit must be outside of the control limits. So what is the situation? In which situation we need to take the actions? So it's very important to understand these concepts before going into the understanding or learning of the capability analysis. We must know what are the types of data like categorical and continuous, and what are the different subtypes of it, what kind of distribution, what kind of distributions that are available for the continuous distributions and discrete distributions. What is the difference between stability and capability? Short-term and long-term capability is also very important to understand, because the difference is we are going to consider the short-term and long-term standard deviation in this case. If you want to go into the detail of understanding this capability analysis, these basic concepts must be clear to you. What is the importance of graphical analysis? What are the basic mistakes that we are doing during the understanding or interpretation of the capability analysis? That's everything you must know. And at the end, you must know what are the different process capability ratios. For example, there are not only the CP and CPK or PP and PPK. There are other important capability ratios are also there. Like we must know what is the CPM, what is capability ratio CR, TZ, and what is the relationship between all the ratios, what are their formulas, right? So this is the basic concepts that we must know before understanding or before starting even learning of the Minitab, right? So this is a very important thing. Is the first step is clear to everyone? Before starting the learning of Minitab, we must understand what are the different concepts in that tool. Okay, is this clear to you, everyone? Great. Now let's go to the second step. Now, when we are discussing about the effective learning of Minitab, the second step is understand the application of concept. Now, what is the difference between this understanding the concept and understanding the application? Understanding of the concepts is a very basic part of it, because we are going to learn each and every term in it. But when we are talking about the application part, let's take an example of measurement system analysis. So once we are going to learn the measurement system analysis, there are different tools and techniques are available, and we must know what is the application of each technique. For example, there are multiple tools that we can learn in a measurement system analysis. Like we are going to learn the type 1 gauge study, gauge run chart, and gauge linearity and bias study. But what is the application of it? These tools we must know before conducting gauge study. Yes, this tool we need to use before even starting or conducting the gauge study. When we are talking about the gauge aranda study crossed, nested or expanded, that should be done afterwards. Once we clear that our measurement system has no issue, then we should go for the performing the gauge aranda study crossed, nested and expanded when our data is continuous. Now in which situation we should use the cross, nested and expanded for that purpose also we are having the multiple guidelines. For example, if we are having the multiple operators and if each operator is going to measure the part multiple times, then we should use the gauge aranda study crossed. If it is like a destructive testing, that means one operator is not going to measure the part second time because of the destructive testing of perform that on that particular part. In that case, we need to use the gauge aranda study nested. If you are interested in operator, part, and the measurement system along with into the what are the environmental conditions, like what is the temperature, what is the humidity, what is the noise, what is the impact of all these external factors into our measurement system, then we need to use the gauge aranda study expanded. If our data is attribute, then we need to perform the attribute agreement analysis. So there are multiple tools are available under each of the tool or each of the important concept in Minitab, and when we are going for the application of that particular concept in real life, we must know what is the application of that concept, right? So this is the second most important point of the Minitab learning. Now once we understand what are the different concepts in each tool, let's say we are going to learn the measurement system analysis, then we should know all the concepts in it. We must know what is the application of each of the concepts in that. After this two, the third step is learn the data requirement of each tool. Now what is the meaning of it? When we are going to use any statistical tool in real life, we must follow some data requirements. We must follow some guidelines, and these guidelines are called as data requirements. Let's take an example here. Let's say if you are going to use the ANOVA tool, analysis of variance tool in real life, then we must know what are the data requirements of it. For example, for the ANOVA, if you are going to use in practical life, we must use 5 data requirement. The first one is there must be one categorical variable as axis. So once you are going to perform the ANOVA, we should have at least one axis which is categorical. The second, our response must be continuous. Response here, that means our output or Y must be continuous. Only in that case we can use the ANOVA tool. The sample size must be greater than 15. This is just to ensure that our data is following the normal distribution. If our data is not following the normal distribution, then we need to use the non-parametric test in that case. So it's very important for the application of the ANOVA, we must have the sample size at least greater than 15. Each observation must be independent of all other observations, because if the observations are dependent, then the interpretation of the results will not be accurate. And the last one is we should follow the best practices during the collection of data. Now what is meant by the best practices? Whatever the data that you are going to collect, that should represent the population. Measurement system with which you are going to collect the data, that must be capable. We must have the standard procedure or methodology by which we are going to collect the data. And the last, we should collect the data in the order, or we can say we should collect the or record the data in the timely order. That means first data that we are going to collect, that should be recorded at the first place. So these are the best practices that we need to follow, and this is very important to understand what are the data requirements for each of the tool before application or before learning of it. Are these three important steps clear to you? The question is for which reason type 1 study is used. Okay, so the type 1 study is used to check what is the variability and what is the repeatability your measurement system is having. So for that purpose you are using the type 1 case study. Okay, So mainly we can say it's a repeatability and bias. So if you are going to learn these two important things, repeatability and bias, we are going to learn, we must use the type 1 case study before that. Thank you so much, Ganmi, for your question. Now let's go to the next step, which is a step number 4. Learn the procedure to follow during application. That means when we are going to use the Minitab for performing application or doing the conducting analysis for one of the tool, we must know what is the procedure that we need to follow. For that purpose, we need to follow the stepwise procedure for each of these tool, and we need to select the different options for different results during that procedure. If you select the different options, we are going to see the different results. So that's why it is very important to understand which option we should select during following the procedure of that particular tool. This is the fourth important step of the Minitab learning. Now, once we know what are the concepts in each tool, what is the application of each concept into that tool, what are the data requirements of that tool, and what is the procedure that we need to follow during learning of that concept, the next step is take an example. That example can be, you can have the ready-made data, or you need to collect the data and use the tool, right? So collect the data or use the available data and follow the procedure to use the tool. So in that way you are getting the hands-on experience that what is a procedure to conduct that particular analysis. The sixth step is interpret the results after application of the tool. Now once you follow that procedure, you are getting the results, right? Now the interpretation of these results are very important. In some cases we are getting the analytical results, in some cases you are getting the graphical results. In some of the tools and techniques you will get both graphical as well as analytical results. We must know what is the interpretation of it, what are the important terms and concepts from that interpretation, and what is the meaning of it. So we can note down what is your interpretation from that data, and at the end of this step number 6, we need to compare your interpretation with the standard of calibration or to clear any confusion. So you must have the data or reference with which you are going to compare your interpretations. If the interpretations are matching with the standard interpretation, then yes, you understood that tool or technique correctly. But if there is some mismatch, then you can go into the detail and understand what's the problem with understanding or where is the confusion, right? So this is again very important concepts. If you go for the any Minitab training, they are just talking about the step number 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. They're totally missing the step number 1. And we are just using the Minitab for conduct the tool. But the problem with this training, when we learn that kind of training and go into the practical life, though we are having the knowledge of multiple tools at the same time, the problem is application of these tools in real life. And for that purpose, we should not miss the step number 1, and we should follow the step number 7, 8, 9 and 10 as well. Okay, so let me explain what is the step number 7. Convert it into actions. Once you interpret the results after application of the tool, we need to convert that into actions, because this is the most practical part to convert your knowledge into actions. Convert the interpretation from analysis into actions. So we can define some number of actions, let's say 1, 2 or 3 actions. We can also assign the roles and responsibility to that actions. But this is the most critical part. If you are not going to convert your interpretation into actions, it is a waste, right? So we should convert our interpretation into actions. The step number 8, implement actions in real life. Now, depending on your authority and position in the organization, you can do this implementation by your own, or you can do the deployment of that particular action by your team members, but ensure that that activity or that action is implemented in your presence. Why I'm asking it? Because this is important to understand the step number 9. Once you implement that actions in real life, the step number 9 is check effectiveness of actions with tools. Once we implement that action in real life, the step number 9 is check effectiveness of actions with tools. For that purpose, the easiest and the most effective way is to do the before and after analysis. Again, once we are talking about the before and after analysis, for that purpose we are having the multiple tools. Like we can use the before and after control chart. Let's say if you have drawn the X bar R chart before, then we can also draw the X bar R chart after, and we can see what is the comparison between them, right? If I use the P chart before, we can also use the P chart after. If I use the histogram before, we can use the histogram after, right? So we can also use the before and after capability analysis, whether there is any improvement in the capability of that particular product, service, or part. Before and after histogram, this is also the another method that we can use for the visual interpretation or visual verification or validation. And we can also use the multiple hypothesis tests. So there is a huge list of hypothesis tests. So the depending on type of data and the results that you are getting, we can also use the multiple steps. Like we can use the two sample t test, we can use the pair t test, chi-square test, proportion test, we can use the ANOVA, we can use the Moore's median test. So there are multiple tools are available. So based on the type of data and the results you are getting, we can use the tool for before and after analysis. And the last step, this is the most important because this is talking about the consistency. This is talking about the environment, because your environment is more powerful than you. Let's take an example. If you are surrounded by the positive people, even if you are at the fence to take the actions, whether you are going to take the actions or not, you are going to take the actions. That's the environment of power. That's the power of the environment, right? But if you are with the negative people, if you want to do any one important action, but if you are surrounded by the negative people, you are not going to take the actions, right? So for that purpose, environment is most important. And the step number 10 is practice it regularly. Whatever you learn from step number 1 to 9, if you are not going to practice it regularly, it will not be useful, and everything is going to be vanished after some time. Now what is the solution for this? So solution for this, join the relevant community or group of masterminds, and out of that I am explaining one of the method that if you want to become a part of my Minitab program, my Minitab training certification and handholding program, so you can just visit at vijaysabe.co/minitab and you will get the entire help there. So you will be the part of community where you will be surrounded by the people who are actually learning and implementing the Minitab every single day, and we are also discussing the questions, practical difficulties they are getting into their day-to-day life. Let me explain that, but before go to that part, let me ask you the questions. Do you have any questions till the time? Okay, great. Thank you so much. So let me explain the part which I was talking about. So though I am providing the best content, so I have explained all the tools and concepts in Minitab in the form of courses, and each of the course is designed on that 10-step methodology. So every tool, learning of every tool is starting with the basic concept. So I'm not assuming that you are having so much of knowledge or you should have that basic concepts in mind, you should have the awareness of it. I'm not assuming everything, right? I'm not assuming anything, and I'm starting from the scratch. So I'm following exact that 10-step methodology for learning or explanation of each of the tool. But apart from this learning, there is a community support as well, because I said that environment is more powerful than you. For every Tuesday, on every Tuesday, we are having the dedicated call for all these Minitab members, Minitab and Lean Six Sigma members. In that, we are discussing one topic, one dedicated topic on that day. What are the tools and techniques, or what is the study they need to conduct by the next week? If they are having any questions, they can also use the Telegram community. As soon as they becoming the part of Minitab training and certification program or handholding program, they will get a link to join this dedicated Telegram community. In that group, they can ask any number of questions at any point of time. They can share their lessons learned, success stories, or they also get the new updates into that community. In addition to these, every Tuesday call, you are also having the facility to as and when needed call. So if anything that you also need to discuss with me live, then also you can schedule a live call with me and you can clarify your doubts. This is for the bigger questions. If you're having the smaller questions, you can just put into the Telegram community and you can get the answer of that question immediately from myself or from the other team members. One more important thing, you will be getting the data files for practice for each and every tool that I'm going to explain. Okay, so this is more powerful. I'm providing you the community support which is available for you for the lifetime. This is the agenda that we are following every single week. This is the 3 months program, and this is the recurring program. So once we complete all these 12 sessions, again we are starting from the session number 1, and you will be having access to this entire program, recurring program, for your lifetime. Okay, for example, we are starting with the session 1. What is a methodology for learning? What is the code of conduct that we need to follow? What are the best practices that we need to follow? Then session 2, we are discussing about 7+2 quality control tools. Session 3, we are discussing about basic statistics and distribution. Session 4, graphical tools, then MSA, capability analysis, statistical process control, hypothesis testing, correlation regression, design of experiment, multivariate analysis, and then there is a review of process and improvement, so that we can make the next cycle of this hackathon more effective, right? So this call is happening on every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So we are going to plan what are the tools and techniques, what are the concepts that you should learn by the next week. And if you are having any questions from the last week, we are going to discuss that in detail. This is the system that we can follow in addition to the weekly call. If you want to schedule a call with me, quick call to discuss the concept in detail, we can also schedule this through our Calendly system. This is our partner program. As soon as you become the enroll into our Minitab program, you will also become the affiliate partner of our Learn and Apply. So the Minitab program I was discussing. So this consists of all these topics, all the important topics on the Minitab, along with this mentoring call. You will also get the Telegram community support. You are also having the system to schedule a live call with as and when needed, and you will also be part of our community. This is our mission to help 100,000 working professionals to achieve their career growth, and that's why I'm also offering a discount for you. So if you want to become a part of our Minitab training and certification and mentoring program, please use the link in the description section. That's vijaysabe.co/Minitab, and you can go for the enrollment into that. Please use this coupon code so that you can get the additional discount for your enrollment. And this is the last important point, that during the next 30 days, at any point of time, if you feel that this training is not relevant to you, or this is not meeting your expectations, or it is lesser delivered than what I have committed, then just put a mail to me and you will get your entire money back. Your investment is totally covered with 30 days money back guarantee. This is the best program in the world for the Minitab training, I can say, because this is explaining that 10-step approach for learning of each and every tool into the Minitab. You are having the Telegram community, so surrounded by the positive people having the same mindset or look like mindset, and you will be getting the 24/7 handholding support, and along with that, your entire investment is risk-free with 30 days money back guarantee, right? So if you want to become the part of our program, you can just visit the vijaysabe.co/Minitab and you can enroll into our program.